Okay, friends, this is a big one. I am joined by my longtime friend from my stand-up comedy days, Maggie Gallant. We dive into her recent cosmetic procedure. It's one that neither one of us can pronounce, so don't even ask me. And it brought up a swirl of emotions that came along with her wanting to tweak something. This conversation opened up so many thoughts for me that I actually rewrote the intro to this podcast. If you've ever wrestled with, should I age naturally or should I do a little something to feel better? You need to hear this episode. And this might even be one that you want to watch on my YouTube channel. We get very honest. While you're there, drop a comment. I would love to hear your take on this. And if you're new here, please listen to the podcast episode about how I reversed my heart disease and lost 20 pounds by eating a whole food plant-based diet. I'm posting easy, delicious meal ideas regularly to my YouTube channel. So please subscribe so you don't miss any. And of course, you can always reach me at Lauren at agelikeabadassmother.com. You know, I love hearing from you and I will answer you back. And as always, I appreciate you listening. Hi, friend. I'm Lauren Bernick, and I'm flipping the script about growing older. From rebels and rule breakers to wellness warriors and wise women, my guests have been influencers since before that was even a thing, and we're not even close to finished. Welcome to Age Like a Badass Mother. Maggie Gallant, also known as the British Woman, grew up in Southeast England. Now living in Austin, Texas, Maggie founded the Truly Terrific Tea Company to create authentic and fun tea parties and events for any occasion. As an experienced event planner, Maggie brings creativity, an exceptional eye for detail, and a great team to every party. But I've known her from my days as a stand-up comic. We've been friends for over 20 years. She's here today because she recently had a cosmetic procedure which just shocked the hell out of me. I didn't think anything about aging bothered her. We started talking about it and I said, save it for the podcast because we have to have this honest conversation. So please welcome my hilarious and talented friend,
Uh-oh.
Maggie Gallant.
Hello.
Hello.
Thrilled.
Oh,
So delighted.
I'm so delighted you're here. So I guess we should probably just start by talking about how we met because it's fun, right? I mean, I think it was fun.
I think that I mean, probably like you, I can't believe that we ever did that. That was a pretty big chunk of not of our lives, but a pretty significant part of it.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Doing stand-up.
Yeah, I think about that now and I'm like, how did I ever do that? That's just ballsy. And we actually met in this workshop.
Oh gosh.
We met the mastery. So we met in this workshop and it was called the mastery. And I don't know why. I was just like called to do it. I had to be there. And now I know it was to meet you to do stand up. But I remember Andy and I got in a big fight that weekend because I was gone all weekend and I had, 3 small children. And he's like, what are you doing? You don't have time for this. And I was like, I have time for it. You just, take care of the kids. And we got in this big fight. He's like, what are you doing? And later he told me, he's like, I'm really glad you did stuff like that because at the time, I just thought it was crazy. But then I came to realize you kind of kept yourself all these years. You didn't lose yourself because you kept up with your interests. And so I think he was grateful. But we met in this crazy mastery. And I remember that Van Brooks, who ran it, said, you might not know why you're here, but you were meant to be here for this reason. And I think I was meant to be there with you.
I always remember that one piece of one thing. I mean, there are a lot of things that he said, but I always remember him saying, if you don't fail, you aren't interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so true and it's so good. And that has carried me because that sort of embracing and just, when we would laugh, remember when somebody screwed up and we'd all like clap and cheer for them. I mean, I still do that with people. I think it was It was a great piece of advice. But I also remember standing up in front of you all and just being in floods of tears. So
Oh yeah, I remember
sure
you started
how
crying, and
great
then
that was.
I started crying, and I didn't know why I was crying. I was just crying because you were crying. I don't know what happened.
Wow.
It was crazy.
Wow.
He also said, "Who are you to deprive the world of your gifts?" Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
we did. I remember we had to make up a play, and like I think there was like
Gosh.
6 of us, and we ended up doing The Boy with No Head. It had to be
No
like an
head.
inspirational play. Like somebody has to overcome something, and we decided this guy should have no head. And we did it to the theme of the Brady Bunch.
Such talent.
Da 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 da. Here's the story of a boy with no head. I don't remember where it went
Okay,
from.
please don't share any more of this.
And then, he said, "What is something that you've always wanted to do but you've been afraid?" And I said, "Stand up." And he said, "Okay, you're going to go off with Maggie. She's done stand up a few times, and you're going to write a whatever 3-minute set, and you're going to perform it in 2 hours." And I thought I was going to shit my pants, but I did. We did it. And then I started doing stand up, and we had quite
Yeah,
a,
to open mics at like 10 o'clock at night. I mean, who were we? And then get out of there at 1 in the
oh
morning.
yeah,
Wow.
I know,
For 3 minutes on
for
stage.
3 minutes. But we also kind of made it a little bigger than that. We weren't just doing open
You
mics.
did well.
You
No,
did
you did
well.
well.
You opened for
Well,
Maria
not really.
Bamford. You did, I mean, and
Did
somebody
I?
else. Yes, you did. Did I?
Mm.
Yes, we both.
You're a TV star. But yes.
No, we both did quite well, and
Mm-hmm.
or for what we were taking on it, like what we were like 35, 38 years old when we started, which
Yep.
is a little bit
Mm-hmm. Old.
older for a stand-up comic. At the I mean, looking back, it doesn't seem old at all, which I
I
guess
know.
is perspective. But what else is there anything else that you remember from those days, from the stand-up days?
I don't know. I mean, it amazes me now because uh, like for tiny, especially when we first started out, like the amount of time that I would spend driving to places and standing around places. I mean, I used to go to San Antonio for the open mic on Saturday night, and I would leave the house like 10:30, get down there at midnight, drive home at 2 in the morning. I mean, poor Eric, my poor long suffering husband. And I was smoking, sort of like come in stinking of smoke. He'd be like, "Have you been smoking?" I'd be like, "No, the
No,
club was very smoky."
club's always smoky.
But I mean, it was fun, like doing the funniest person and
Funniest
the
person in, yeah,
competitions. I mean,
we did
it goes back
competitions.
to
Funniest
yeah, it
person
goes
in
back to what
Austin.
Van said, and that whole like do something that scares you, and that did, and it. I mean, it. Sometimes I think there's real power of standing up on a stage and making people laugh. And there is nothing, I mean, for me, there is nothing in the world like the high that you get when a joke really hits, like
Yes.
really hits,
Yes.
and you have to wait and you ride that laugh. Nothing like that. But equally, nothing as humiliating as bombing on stage and then that walk off the stage through the crowd to the bunch of comics at the back who are loving
Oh yeah,
every second of your
they're
humiliation.
jerks.
So anyone wanting to try stand up, please give it a go. It's great.
Yeah. So yeah, it was definitely a moment in time, and something I'm just
Mm-hmm.
very grateful that I did, because
Me too.
it took some balls, and it gave me a lot of training. There's nothing that really scares me too much these days, because
Right.
yeah, I stood up on stage by myself and told jokes. So yeah. Nothing so damn scary. Okay. So there are a couple of reasons I wanted to talk to you today, and we were having coffee, and you, well, first of all, the conversation started, I think, because of your
Uh-oh.
hairdresser, right? What was that
Oh,
conversation?
yes. So I've had short hair, gosh, for, I mean, a long time, like probably, I don't know, 25 years. And it's always, and in England, it was never really an issue. But when I came here, everybody has long hair. I mean, it just, you don't see too many people with short hair. Anyway, I have a wonderful, wonderful hair stylist. And when I go to her, I always end up doing the same thing. But I always like flick through the magazines or look online. I'm like, oh, short hair, like, what's new in the short hair style? And this one was sort of divided into categories. And I think it was, I know, face shape, but then there was a category for like age. And there was a section for the over 60s. Well, I will be 60 on the 30th of December. So, I mean, it's looming. So I looked through them and they were all just dull. I mean, there was nothing that was particularly inspiring. So I said to Leah, my stylist, like, what makes an over 60 haircut? And she said, well, it's probably like easy sort of wash and go. I was like, right, get that razor and put some more cuts in there. Like, I want to be able to do all of this with it.
Yeah.
Crazy with it. I need the complicated haircut because I don't want to be the wash and go
grandma.
I'm not ready for that.
No, she said that it was like uncomplicated, and you were like, well, give me the most complicated haircut you can.
Yeah, I want complex layers. I want something that's not now sticking out all over the place. It needs to be not easily recreatable by anybody around the age of 60.
So. I know. And then, that got us that and then you went off on a rant. And then and then you started telling me about your upcoming plastic surgery, which you've gotten. Well, I don't know if it's plastic surgery. What was which just shocked me. What's it called? What'd you get?
I know. I always get a little bit of a when somebody says plastic surgery, because I just think of it. I think I call it a procedure on my face. So I'll take my glasses off, even though I can't see. You can see. So,
and
well, because you've known me a long
this is
time.
a podcast, and you can watch us on YouTube. But for anybody who's not watching, she had this procedure like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. So you're still very post-op. But so describe what you had done.
So my right eye is that sleepy eye, which a lot of people talk about and often happens when you age, where it just droops a little bit. That upper eyelid droops. And it wasn't significant, but it was enough that it bothered me in photos and when I was on stage or just looking in the mirror. So I got an upper I can never pronounce it. Blepharoplasty. We'll say that very quickly. It's probably not that. Just on the right eye, and then
that's like an eyelid
severe
lift, right? Like they
it's an eyelid lift, and then on the lower eyelids, and they just kind of take it up a little bit, take it up a notch, and then on the lower ones, I had the sort of fat deposits that give you the sort of bags under the eyes, and they were quite dark. So they did the lower blepharoplasty on both, and then resurfaced the whole thing to sort of get rid of some wrinkles. So
you had some pretty deep wrinkles under your eyes too, like on
pretty
your
deep
cheeks
wrinkles
that
under
she
the
lasered.
eyes, like sun damage. So she did the fractional CO2 lasering. So yeah, and it looked hideous for at least the first week to 10 days. It's clearing up now. You can still see a little bit of red. It's a little bit swollen, and it takes they say it takes probably 3 months before you see the full results.
But it looks really good. And the thing, but
Thanks.
what it just shocked me, because like I said, I never heard you complain about it, talk about it. You've never mentioned it. And when you're like, oh yeah, I'm getting this like next week. And I was like, what? Why? What's going on? Like, I didn't even know anything bothered you. And I just thought you were one of those people who was just going to age the way you age. And, and so tell me your inner thoughts behind all that.
I mean, I think I'm, oh gosh, we're going to get onto the vanity thing in a minute, but I'm going to say that I am quite vain, but I'll just put that aside for a minute. And I think that on my face, that eye has probably been getting gradually worse. And I had lost some weight because I was sick in February. So I lost some weight pretty quickly in the recovery from that. And the skin on my face started looking really like the wrinkles were far more pronounced. So at that point, and I had got a recommendation from a friend who had just had this procedure done, and she looked amazing. So I had already been in touch with that doctor, and she was like, yeah, we could do this and this. And I thought, well, that's interesting. It's a lot of money. Not sure, but I'll do it. And then I looked at myself sort of around February time. I was like, I just got to do it. So if my friend hadn't recommended, I may not have even gone ahead with it, because you don't want to just sort of pick some random person who's like, yeah, I can do a eyelid amongst many other things, whereas these people are actual specialists. So fortunately, they know what they're doing.
But what,
So, and then also
go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say that that Eric was going to have his done, because his eyelids, his sort of droop eyelid, is very significant. And so I had sent him to the same place to go and talk to him, and his was affecting his peripheral vision, and he was going to have his done first, but an early appointment came up, so I had mine done anyway. Long story short, he's now had his done, and his you won't be listening to this, his looks hideous. I mean, it really has been hideous. So it had,
that's
he had
the
his
recovery
done first, I would have
she's
just
talking about, not the post-op.
He looks
the bruising and
man.
black under his
all
eyes.
The discoloration. It's taking a lot longer for him to recover,
because his was more
visually
intense. He had like hooded eyes. Is that what you call them?
Mm-hmm.
Hooded eyes?
I think so.
Were they? So what did
so.
they do? They cut the inseam of the eyelid and just pull it up, or what do they do?
I don't know. I mean, honestly, this is sort of part of the issue that I usually research the heck out of everything before I do anything. This one, she sort of went, yeah, we can do this and this. And I was like, great, pay my money. I did not fully realize quite what was involved with it. But yes, that's essentially what they have to do. For him, they had to cut out a lot of the extra sort of eyelidy.
Is that the technical term? The extra
I think eyelidy stuff.
But I think that you didn't research it because you didn't want to know, right? You're like, let me just go into this not knowing.
I suppose subconsciously. I suppose so.
Can I?
Except afterwards, I did all the research to look at how
after
badly I was recovering compared to everybody else that had it done.
Okay.
Why doesn't mine look like this?
Yours, it looks really good. Like I said, I'm going to ask you a personal question. You can tell me to fuck off if you don't want to answer it. But will you tell us how much it cost?
Yes. So I think in total, with all of the sort of extra surgeon fees and facility fees, it was about 10,000.
Mm-hmm. That's significant.
Whereas Eric, because that also included all the laser, whereas Eric's was, I think, 5 because both of his eyes were covered.
Yes, because he's a man. Insurance. Is that why?
No,
I'm joking.
Yes. Because he could do I can't see out of the corners of my eye. I could have played that card.
Yeah. No, he really did have some.
Yeah,
I'm excited to see what he looks like. Okay, so back to like the bigger issue at hand. You know, how long was it bothering you? Like you said, maybe the droopy eyelid for a long time, but under your eyes, like when did that start?
Yeah, I mean that's sun damage, and that's because we are of the generation that thought having a tan once you burned was the greatest thing ever was the only way to achieve a tan. So I have a lot of sun damage on my face and on my body, like all of those brown spots are all appearing, and I don't like the way that they look. So that's been on my face. Well, first of all, I was sort of going out into the sun to sort of hope that the brown patch that was there, if I then got brown on the rest of my face, it would
just match
sort
it.
of disguise it. However, that hasn't really happened. So I think once I stopped going out into the sun and I realized just how noticeable it was, and it wasn't going to come off just with, some random product advertised as a miracle cure on Instagram, which I am very susceptible to.
Same. Oh my God, I buy everything off Instagram. Okay, I think I'm getting done though. And I also, I want to talk about Instagram, but I also want to say, I also just got a procedure. I got a chemical peel. I paid a stranger good money like hundreds of dollars to burn a layer of my skin off because I also was getting little brown spots and, just to expose like a baby layer of skin. And then I was like,
Yes.
what the hell are we doing? It just blew my mind. But then we started talking about it. And the reason I think I'm mad about it is because now we're going to get everything on our Instagram. I hope you have your phone. My phone's on, just silent somewhere, but God knows we're going to be getting like brown spot
Uh-huh.
remover on our Instagram or whatever. I almost just bought this is why I'm like, I'm done. I almost just bought these things off Instagram. It's like a tape that pulls your skin up so you can wear shorts and so your knees aren't falling down. And as I'm like about to buy this, I'm like, damn it. I'm sick of this shit. I'm not buying this. I'm just going to I just have to get comfortable of this is how I look. I am almost 57 years old. My knees are going to be a little falling down or whatever that skin. I don't know what it is, but I'm not taping it up. What if it falls down while I'm out? And also just sick of this shit. I'm so sick of every time I get on Instagram, it costs me $49.99. And I have
Mm-hmm.
to be
Special price. Okay,
just
now.
now. Um, so, there is this whole thing about acceptance versus tweaking. And
Mm.
I think that we're not being honest if we say, okay, I'm just going to fully age. And I have a shame about this now because I host a podcast called Age Like a Badass Mother, the anti-aging podcast, where I'm trying not to focus on these things, but it just keeps coming up. And I think I'm being disingenuous and I don't want to do that. I want to be fully out there and fully
Mm-hmm.
transparent. And the more I talk to my friends, I'm seeing, okay, we can't just be all or nothing. We can't be completely anti aging if we are bothered by some things. And, I
Right.
think that there is a difference between going full Kardashian and just having a
Mm-hmm.
little tweak about something that really bothers you. What do you think?
Get my bum done next. No, but I think that's it. I mean, and I think what I'm learning or what I'm coming to terms with is that for me, looking good. So being at a weight where I can fit into all of my clothes and don't have to buy a whole new wardrobe, getting my hair colored every 6 weeks, which is definitely coming to time. Um, that it isn't what I say. It isn't vain. It isn't, oh, look at a poor girl, socially conditioned. It's what I want. It's what makes me feel good. And that's where I think I'm landing. I mean, I told you when I had the surgery done, and even before that, and even on the day of my surgery, the anaesthetist comes around who looked exactly like Benedict Cumberbatch. It was very disconcerting. But so even there, he was like, "So you're having a upper blepharoplasty done?" And I'm like, "Yeah, but it's just vanity. It's pure vanity." And when we went back for Eric's procedure, they were like, "Oh, you're back again." I was like, "Yeah, but his is." I mean, I almost said his is real. Mine's just vanity. And every time, and I've been catching myself doing this over and over, and I'm going to stop because vanity is such a sort of ugly word in the way that people perceive it, but it's just about what makes you feel good. And so, as long as that's not the only thing that I do, and I don't stuff junk down my throat and lie on the couch and do no exercise, it's just part of looking good and feeling good. So I kind of like that because I'm sick of having to explain it away or having people say, "Oh, but you didn't need it." Well, it's not really for you to say, is it?
Right.
Like
Right.
that's okay. You can say that, but you could say it in your quiet, in your head voice. Like if you're saying that, you're almost negating what I'm trying to do because it's about me and my relationship with my face and my body when I look in the mirror.
Yeah. Right.
Okay, slight rant.
No, I love your rants. No, it's true because why shouldn't we be able to feel good? And I do feel conflicted because I have a lot of people who come on here. I'm going to interview one this week. Um, Ashton Applewhite, and she wrote
Mm,
the book on ageism. And this would be a
right.
very ageist thing. And
Mm-hmm.
so I feel very conflicted, but I feel that we need to explore all of it. You know, what, like, I want to explore ageism. I want to know when
Yeah.
to catch it, how
Yeah.
we're catching it, how to avoid it. But that doesn't negate the fact that I still want to feel good and look good. And if something's really bothering me, that I want to change it. Now, I feel well, I I almost shouldn't say this, but I feel like let's just say everything.
Say
Let's just say everything. Um
it.
I do feel like there's a point, if you have to fix every little thing, that's something else maybe. I feel like not that you shouldn't be allowed to you should be able to be allowed to do whatever you want. But I feel like if
Mm-hmm.
you fix every little flaw, because there's going to be more of them coming and more of them coming,
Mm-hmm.
that it might not necessarily be the healthiest thing. Like, I feel like there has to be a certain amount of acceptance towards
Right.
what do you feel the same way, or what do you think?
I do. I mean, I did think about that before I had this done. I was like, oh, what are we opening up
Right.
here? And already, I got the top half of she lasered sort of under my eyes, sort of cheeks,
Hmm.
because that's where all the discoloration was. But the lower half of my face, around my mouth and all of those lines. I mean, I see all the wrinkles. They
Right.
are there because the lasering didn't happen. So will I go back later in the year and have the other half done? Yeah, I
You
probably
do?
will. But that for me, that's just sort of evening things out.
Yeah.
That makes sense. But there's a lot of other stuff. I mean, my right ear is my signature
You're
feature.
sticky out here. I forgot about that. She's
Yes.
written
Um,
it starred in some
but yeah, I
plays.
mean,
So
exactly. But I mean, I'm not going to do anything about that. I'm just going to hold the resentment that I have from my parents for the rest of my life that they never pinned it back. I have a nose that I'm very concerned about because of my Armenian heritage, recently discovered. That I'm going to end up with a sort of a nose that looks like my Armenian father. So it's sort of spreading halfway across my face. I know, but but I'm not. I'm not actually going to have that done. So yeah, there are still things that bother me. But I tell you, when I look in the mirror, I put makeup on now. It's huge for me because it feels, yeah, it feels the way that I wanted it to feel. I'm really, really happy. I have no regrets
that's good.
about having this done, and I'm not going to. I can't see myself doing a lot of other things. I just want to. I just want to be healthy
Yeah.
with the rest of my body. And that's important. That's as important, but
Yeah.
that's not what people see when they first meet you or look at you on a stage or in front of a camera or anything like that.
Right. I mean, that's the other thing that, you know, it just brings up so many issues because
Mm.
it is all ingrained in us. And when I was thinking about this, I remember something that I said to somebody. I was like 30 years old and she was probably 60 years old. I want to go
Mm-hmm.
back and kill myself. No, not kill myself, but I my friend's older sister, like, she's much older than him. I was 30 and she told me she was getting, I don't know what she said, a facelift or something. And I just was so flip about it. I was like, ugh. And she goes, "What?" Because she thought I was going to be really happy about it for her. And I just said, I don't know. I just feel like if you get your face done, it's going to make all the other 60-year-olds feel bad. And, it's just not honest. And I just remember she just looked at me and she didn't say anything. And she just it stormed off. Like, I knew, like, now I know what she was thinking. She was just like, get back to me in 30 years, which now it's been
Mm-hmm.
30 years. And, like, Okay, now I get it. I'm sorry, Patsy. If you're still around, I have no idea. But yeah, I shouldn't have said that. It was judgmental. It was immature. It was, I was shaming her. I mean, like, I don't even know what I was, I was just, and I did really think that at the time. I was like, oh my God, if these people would just all stop getting work done, then nobody would feel bad. And I still kind of think that's true, but here we are, and that's not going to stop. And
Well, yeah, but I mean, if we were now in our 30s or 20s or anything, we'd be getting all kinds of things done.
right,
We'd be doing all of the preventative
preventative
stuff.
Botox.
That, and that's what blows my mind. I'm like, really? You're starting, Botox at 15 or
Yeah,
whatever it is,
50.
in your, okay, but I mean, 20s or
Right.
whatever.
Yeah. I
I
know.
mean,
I know a lot of people
maybe,
who do that. I know
yeah.
younger people who do that. And I don't know what to say. Again, I don't want to judge them, but I don't know. I mean, it seems kind of I don't know. I mean,
I don't
I
know.
wouldn't
It
do
seems smart. I mean, I don't like the things like fillers and stuff like that because I think as you age, they can really create problems. But maybe it's good that you're starting all of these. Yeah, if that's part of a whole other beauty regimen,
I have
then
no idea.
you're not going to get to 60 and have to go get your blepharoplasty or
Blah,
whatever
blah,
it
blah,
is
blah.
done. Blah, 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 blah.
I don't know. I
I don't
mean,
know.
well, again, I don't want to judge what anybody's doing, but it is kind of moving more in that direction where people are getting more and
Mm-hmm.
more things done, and it does like it puts pressure on people who absolutely can't afford to get a thing
Right.
done. That's
Mm-hmm.
not fair.
Absolutely.
And it
No.
makes me, that's a whole other
Mm-hmm.
conversation. But I mean, then what do those people do? They don't get to feel better about themselves. I mean, it's a whole, I mean, that's a
Yeah,
thing.
but it's still, for me, it still comes back to, I know, and I could feel, great, and I agree with you on that, but I still come back to that. That's not a reason for me not to do what
Right.
I want to do.
Right.
And it's selfish. And this whole sort of saying, this is what I want, is hard. It's hard for me to say. It's probably hard for a lot of us of this age and women
Yeah.
to say, this is what I want. I'm doing this for me because I can, because I have the money to be able to do it. Yeah, I'm fortunate and I'm grateful for it, but I'm not going to apologize for it or make excuses for it or blame society for it.
Mm.
It's just what I want.
Yeah.
Yay!
No,
I'm gonna
it's
wave it. I'm gonna
true.
wave a flag in a minute.
No, no, I mean, you're right. But also, I know, I guess I am blaming society. um,
Well, to some extent, I mean, we all had that,
right.
right? I mean, you and I were just talking before we started and about aging and societal conditioning, and I was saying about this bizarre phenomenon of dressed like a grandparent day at school.
I have never heard of this.
And you can Google this.
I
I'm not
believe
making
you.
this up. Dressed like a grandparents day. They do it here in Austin, and you can go to Party City or online, and you can buy the dress like a grandparents outfit, and it's literally little old grey-haired, curly wigs, little glasses, a
Oh,
walker,
God.
little handbag on your arm. The men have walking sticks. I mean, and so, yeah, is it funny? Yes, when you see these little
Yeah, it is funny to see a
6-year-olds,
6-year-old like that, but it's
fake wrinkles on their face. But it's not, but that's, for all of our talk about how much more enlightened we are and about aging and 60 is the new whatever, 70 is the new, we're giving these messages out to kids from a really young age that this is what aging and your grandparents look like. It's nonsense.
Mhm. That is
Okay.
nonsense. And yeah, and I've had a lot of guests like Dr. Ellen Langer, you're the one who suggested I have her on.
Right.
And she says like if you are a little kid and you have a
Mm-hmm.
grandparent who is aging really well, that's going to be the idea that you have in your head, and you're going to expect that you're going to age well, and that's going to cause you to age well, that you're going to hold that
True.
in your mind. And so that
Mm-hmm.
probably is not the best thing, grandparent day or whatever that's called. I don't know. I I don't know. It's It's just
Well,
another
I mean,
thing.
having worked in, nursing homes and senior living communities, it really frustrated me because, as an activity director or a life enrichment director, it was all about, getting people engaged and not just playing, bingo or whatever and changing some. They obviously did like bingo quite often
Everybody
actually,
likes
but it wasn't the
bingo.
only thing. It wasn't the only thing that we did. There's not one size fits all for aging.
Hmm.
So,
No, you're
so
right.
yeah.
You're absolutely right. What do you like about aging?
Um, hmm. I mean, there's a certain I sort of tread that line. I have to be quite careful because like when I'm at the gym doing workouts with much younger people, there's a part of me, if I'm doing well, that sort of wants to go, I'll be 60 next year.
God, please don't ever do that, Maggie.
and it and it just sort of, and I've known obviously so many, and my parents being so much older, known so many people who do that. I'm 85, and you're like, oh,
Good for
congratulations. But
you.
I'm sort of right on that cusp of I'll be 60 and I'm still lifting these weights. Um, but there is a certain amount of pride in being able to, compete still, having a body that has not let me down because I started exercising a lot later in life anyway. It wasn't part of growing up. So I mean, I like that aspect. Um, God, that's not very much, is it?
I mean,
Yay, aging.
yeah,
I mean, I could sort of do the whole. I mean, I don't know that I have that sense of not caring what people think about me because I still do, and I'm not sure that I will ever lose that. And I don't mind that. I think we should. I don't want to be somebody who just doesn't give a toss about any of
yeah,
that. Um, I know a lot more,
yeah.
an awful lot more, and I'm a lot more confident when I make decisions because I have a whole lot more experience to back me up.
Hmm.
So I like that part. I like the knowledge. I hate to use the wisdom word, um, and I'm glad that I'm through menopause.
Oh my
Very
God, I'm
glad.
so glad you brought that up. Okay, anybody who listens to this podcast knows that I have to bring it up every time that I haven't gone through menopause and I'm almost 57. You guys, I started going through menopause. Hello.
Well,
I know. Thank you.
congratulations.
Thank you. So
Mm,
let me tell you what my experience has been. It's been pretty much nothing. I haven't had a period in like 2 months, a little over, maybe, yeah,
mm-hmm,
maybe 8, 9 weeks. And for me, that's like, I never missed a period. I was like regular every 28 days, like clockwork. And then so after I missed my first period, I started getting these little warm flashes. They were just real. Okay, I'm the kind of person who's always freezing. So it was like a warm, my whole body was warming up, but it was a little annoying, but not too bad. And I started like just sleeping in, I would sleep naked, except that my husband would never let me have a second piece. So I was sleeping in like a less clothes, like t shirt and underwear. And even then, he's like, "Whoa, where's your pants?" I was like, "Get off of me!" I was like, "I'm having a warm flash," and so it was that went on for about a week, and I tried. Dr. Barnard was on the show and he said, eat a half a cup of soybeans a day. And I did that. It didn't really help. And then I had somebody else, it might have also been Dr. Barnard, who said like a tablespoon, or maybe it was Dr. Shapiro, a tablespoon of ground flax meal or 2 tablespoons. So I've been
hmm.
doing a tablespoon of ground flax meal every day in my oatmeal. I haven't had one little warm flash since. And that was, yeah. So I had warm flashes. They weren't even hot, had warm flashes for like a week, and then I've had no other symptoms. Like, I mean, nothing. And I don't know if it's going to continue like this. I'm not bragging. I'm just telling you what my experience has been, and that I'm finally going through it, and I finally feel like a grown up. So, um, I don't know, a few doctors on here have said if you do what I do, the whole food plant-based diet, that you are more likely to have an easier menopause. I don't know if that's true or not. And also I don't know if this is, if it's going to change, but okay. So that's been my
Right.
experience so far.
That's great. Good.
Yeah, I
I'm
know.
glad you have access to all of that knowledge. I didn't have anything. And I didn't really, again, sort of clearly this is a pattern with not necessarily doing a lot of research in advance, even though I claim that I do. Like I didn't really read a lot. I didn't look for a lot of things. So I don't know. I don't remember having, I don't feel like I had a lot of the brain fog that people talk about, because I then also don't feel like well, maybe I still have it. I don't know. Don't feel like I've ever actually come out of that. So perhaps it's just still there. And the weight gain was an issue, like around my stomach. That was a problem.
Yeah.
And that's, I've always been able to run that off, exercise that off, and I couldn't, and that drove me mad. So that was hard. But I didn't have any sort of hair loss or any of the other issues. But yeah, the hot flashes, they were pretty bad. They were every night.
How long did you have symptoms, and how long did it take for you to fully get through menopause?
Well, I don't know. I mean, maybe a year,
Well,
maybe a year or so.
well, they say that you have to go without having a period for a year.
Period for, yeah,
And so you didn't like
yeah.
stop and then start and have your period
No,
again. And
I didn't have periods, and then yeah, and then nothing came back. Um, so for me, it was more of a weight issue. Maybe my moods were weird, but I never went to the doctor, and I never documented symptoms. And sometimes I think that's just sort of how I go through life
well, you are
a little bit.
British.
I just sort of stuff and nonsense, dear. Um, don't make a big issue out of it. So yeah, I never, and I didn't have a lot of people to talk about it with either. So sometimes with that, you just, yeah, you do. It is very British. You do just get on with it.
Just get on with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? Now that you're saying, I think that I had symptoms before I started menopause because I lost a
Hmm.
bunch of hair leading up to it. And it went on for years, but I wasn't sure because it started during the pandemic and I thought I was just really
Mm-hmm.
stressed. And then I had several
Right.
years of being very stressed because I had a lot of stress with my mother being very sick. And
Right.
so I was like, I'm not really sure. But looking back on it, I bet that the hair loss was related, hormonally,
Yeah.
but it
Mm-hmm.
stopped, thank God. Um, as far as, I mean, everybody softens up in the middle. I mean, that just was kind of coming on for a while. I mean, nobody has like washboard abs at this age. Like,
No, but there's a certain, but that belly fat that comes is a certain type of fat. I mean, that's actually got a name, right? Like any of your doctors would tell you that
adipose, is that
that's
it?
that's very specific, and it
Yeah,
is
adipose fat.
incredibly, maybe
I don't know.
we'll say
I've heard
yes,
that before.
more
It
difficult
could
to.
be.
It's just more difficult. Like you just can't use your usual techniques
Right. I
to get
mean,
that.
yeah.
But,
So anyway, what else what else should we talk, is there anything else that you want to talk about? What's your best piece of advice for aging well?
oh gosh. Um, no. I think one thing I have learned as I've got older, to go back to that question, is to stop striving. Like I feel like my whole life,
Yes.
career wise, exercise wise, there's obviously some perfectionism in there, but it's like it's striving. It's like, oh, you got to put in the work. You got to work really hard, and that's how we were also,
Oh yeah.
brought up as well. But I just feel like if I just let things be okay. I read a lot of the writer Genevieve Davis. She also goes by Sasha. Her series of books is Becoming Magic, and she has a academy. Anyway, her whole thing is about just letting everything be okay, just sort of allowing stuff to happen and stop trying to push against it and to change the outcome. And that has, I mean, you talked about how you felt that I've changed over the past couple of years from who I was.
Absolutely.
And I think that's part of it. I remember when I used to be training for stupid triathlons and marathons and everybody else. And one of the coaches, her name was Andrea Fisher, and she said, um, don't, she's like, always change your face. Like, don't make it look hard. You don't want to look like you're suffering or striving too hard, because it makes everybody else, well, she's out in front, but she's suffering too. Whereas if you put this sort of face on that's like, yeah, it's all pretty easy for me, like everybody else is like, well, what the heck's, how the hell is she doing this? Why is she making it look so easy? And it puts everybody else off. And I've always sort of thought that was such a great piece of advice. Like, if you could just, let go of this sort of grip, and that everything's a struggle, everything's so hard. And a lot of that is our British mentality. You gotta tough it out. And yeah, I said to you, you go to England and the weather's so crap that everybody's sort of hunched down, battling against the elements, even if it's bright sunshine, because that's just who we are, our conditioning, generalizing massively here, but as a nation. And so I obviously had to change when I came here, but that sort of letting go and finding an ease in things, stuff just opens up, stuff just happens, like you're talking about, with some of your projects, when you just sort of believe that things will work out
Right. That
for
you're
you.
not responsible for how it's going to happen. That, well,
They
it's
do,
not
yeah.
that you're not responsible, because obviously you have to put in the work, but there's a
Yeah,
balance
yes.
between, expecting that you'll do well and you don't know how it's all going to
Yeah,
happen, but it does, just
yeah,
believing that it will. But yeah, you're
yeah.
a completely different person than when I met you 20 years ago. You
Not that
were
cynical old cow that I used to be.
no, you just were very driven,
Yeah.
very you were always like, you wouldn't miss a workout. You were very
Mhm.
regimented about your work.
Mhm.
And here you have this new business, your truly terrific
Mhm.
tea company, and that it has been more I feel like it's been very successful very quickly, because you are more just like in the flow and just
Mhm.
letting it happen. Like, you get out and you network and you do things and
Right.
you do a great job. And so that you have a lot of word of mouth, but it is just sort of more happening than you would have just been really pushing back in the
Oh,
day. You
absolutely.
would have been
And so
grinding.
frustrated. Yeah,
Hmm.
and so frustrated that things weren't happening the way that I wanted them to happen. But this is on like a daily basis. I'll be like, oh, where, why hasn't that check arrived, or why haven't this person written the review that they promised to do? And it's on my mind, and I'm looping and I'm looping. And then I get to the point where I'm like, okay, if it happens, it happens, but I am perfectly okay if it doesn't happen. I mean, not so much with the check, obviously, but definitely does need to happen. But but other things, and then it could be minutes later or hours or a day later, and that thing just comes to pass. And I truly feel it's just because I just released the need for it to happen. Now, British me or British anybody would kind of just say this was a load of woo woo rubbish nonsense. So I
Hmm.
still do have to battle that part of me. Sometimes I think, well, if I ever said any of this to my brother, he would, well, I don't know.
What would he do?
I have
He
no
wouldn't
idea. He would
believe
just
it.
be so
But
dumbfounded by me, because I'm not, because that's not the culture that I was brought up in. But yeah, so I'm happy. So I'm a lot happier. I'm a lot more at ease. So that's not a specific aging thing, but
I think it is.
if I'm like this now,
Yeah.
then
What?
I'm not going to go back, hopefully.
No, I do think it's an aging, because I call it like a softening. I feel like you
Mm,
have softened in a lot of ways, and not in bad. I mean this all in a good way. Like, you're just a softer, easier person. Not that you weren't easy. I've always enjoyed you, but I just think for you, like for me to
right.
observe you, that you feel more easygoing and more
Right.
accepting of things. And I feel like that is aging thing, because I think that we have had
Hmm.
enough experience that maybe we can trust more that it's all going to work out, because we've been through these things a number of times now, our lessons or whatever they are, you know.
Right.
We've started a business or we've done something hard, and we see that it usually works out the way we want or the way it's supposed
It's
to.
just so, yeah, and it's just so different from British conditioning, which is just to expect, well, you can give it a try, but it's, always expect the worst. And it's so, but it is so ingrained. It's, you're going to be the runner up, you're not going to be the winner. And, but, you tried, you gave it a good try. Um, yeah, that's a hard one has been a hard one to let go of. I mean,
Yeah.
I've been here for 25 years.
Oh, is that it? I thought you were here longer than
Hmm.
that.
Oh God, that seems like a long time.
But I know, but I just thought that you
25
had already
years.
been here for quite some time by the time I met you.
No, 5 years.
Yeah.
5 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
What
But yeah, so I like that part. Anyway.
what um what lessons did you learn from watching your parents age?
Oh gosh. I don't know. It's interesting with my parents because they were so much older. Because I was adopted, and my mum was 40, so huge difference in generationally. In the way that they were brought up. Um, in that sort of very old-fashioned way. But honestly, they were also, when I look back at it now, they were very sort of live and let live people. They didn't let us, be snobby about other people. My mum did a lot of uh, volunteer work, which is something that I took on as well. So she was very sort of into the service elements. And it's been said, I mean, probably every episode of this that you do, it's also about being kind. They were very kind people. I never saw them, get particularly angry. They were never mean to anybody. So those things, those kind of old fashioned values that I rallied against so much when I was a kid, because I just thought they were so, boring. It's not what my friends did. We had horrible old wooden antique furniture when my friends had all this modern white melamine fall apart. We had to have butter and everybody else had margarine, and I wanted that. All of these things that that I really hated as a child, I have now embraced. I mean, I think a lot of people kind of go back to the things that their parents did, but those sort of goodness values and kindness values, I recognize them a lot more now. And it's hard to recognize them once your parents are gone, because you just can't go back, obviously, and you can't go back and say anything.
Mm, yeah.
But physically they did not age well at all.
Yeah. That's probably one reason that you've been really adamant about your health and staying on top of, your workouts and your health, maybe because
Yeah.
you saw how they aged.
Yeah, I mean, they were so relatively young. I mean, my dad was only 76, but he just worked his whole life. And then when he retired, he didn't really have anything. And so he just deteriorated from then on. And then, of course, my mum had Alzheimer's, which, her mother did not. So that's just a lottery, I think. Um, so that took about 15 years away
Mm.
from us that we should have had with her.
How old was she when she passed away?
94.
Oh, she was old. I didn't realize she was so old.
Yeah, yeah.
But you're saying 15 years where she wasn't
Yeah,
herself?
well,
I thought you meant
yeah, I mean,
15 more years.
no, I mean, she was diagnosed, I can't remember what year it was, but she had clearly had symptoms before that, but
Didn't
we just
recognize.
didn't realize.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, physically they didn't, but that's a completely different generation. I mean, she grew up, my dad fought in the war. My mum, was a teenager. They went through rationing. Yeah, very, very, very different
Yeah.
experience.
for sure.
Same age as the Queen.
Your mom was the same age as the
As she
Queen?
liked to say. Yeah, she's
Oh,
born the same
wow.
year as the Queen, 1926.
Wow, wow. Oh my
Um,
gosh. Well, is there anything else we should discuss?
I think that for me, I will still continue to try and do those things that scare me. I mean, I think back, like that was such a big thing for me. Like literally every year I had to do something that scared me. So,
Hmm.
there was stand up, there was skydives, there was the marathon, there were triathlons. I took a trapeze class.
Oh God,
Never
I
again. That
remember
was the
that.
scariest thing I've ever done.
I
Um,
forgot about that. You
so
did one
so I
woman
think
plays, a lot of screen
one woman show,
one
yeah, festivals.
mm-hmm.
So I mean, I still do it. It's changed a bit now because it's not necessarily something that actually scares me. Where that adrenaline is pumping so hard, but it is that outside of the comfort zone. It is getting up off the sofa and going out to some networking thing that I really, really don't want to go to, but sort of like we were saying, trust that it's going to be worth it. Because as we get older, my fear is that the world starts getting smaller. And I know that from, when I used to do grocery shopping for Meals on Wheels clients or go deliver meals, and their world had become so narrow and contained, to their apartment or even just to a room in an apartment. So they didn't have any life beyond that. And that's what worries me, that everything sort of just shuts
Yeah.
down a bit and you just do the same things and you're in the same area. And so anything that pushes you outside of that is important
I
to
think
me.
so. I think that's good. That's good advice.
I don't know what things I'll take on at
I know. I can't
60.
imagine what you're going to do
I think
next.
I did threaten to go and climb Mount Kilimanjaro, but
What?
I
That
know
sounds
I thought about
terrible.
it. It does sound a bit terrible because I'll probably be one of those people that gets that sort of awful altitude sickness and have to be carried off
Carried
somewhere.
down by a
Um,
Sherpa.
I mean, it's a good story to tell. I could probably
A
make a
one
solo
woman
show
show
out of
out of
it.
it.
I do still think like that. Um, so yeah, but maybe something big. But it feels a little cliche to do it at 60. It may have to be 61 just to be slightly perverse about it.
Oh man.
Um, and then I know you often ask about pieces of
Yeah, your
advice.
best piece of
So I have to just
advice.
say, I don't really have a piece of advice, but I do have to, and I'm sure I've told you this before, but one of the greatest books that I ever read was Susan Jeffers' Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway, which I need to
Oh
pull
yeah.
out again.
You write that down.
Because were it not for that book, then I would not have told my boyfriend of 12 years that I loved him but was no longer in love with him on New Year's Eve, and then moved out in early January.
Wow.
I mean, I can't blame it all on he. I think probably still blames
Susan
Susan
Jeffers.
Jeffers for the ending of Susan Jeffers. If you're still out there,
Oh
and
my
perhaps
God.
success story from my side, not so much from his. But
It probably worked out. I mean, at least he probably has somebody who loves him now, or he's alone. He's not with somebody who resents him or doesn't love him.
I didn't resent him. But there's a thread. I mean, do you follow this thread? I started out talking about Van and his whole, if you don't fail, you're not interesting.
Right.
Like clearly, subconsciously, I've realized that this whole sort of just taking a chance, like taking that risk and just doing it. And if you fail, oh well, at least you tried. Um,
You learned
is kind of
something.
important.
It's
Yeah,
very
feel the fear
important.
and just do it anyway.
Yes. I think that's so,
That's an old book.
yeah, clearly if you are talking about your old boyfriend, you've been married for how long have you been married to Eric?
Oh, 26 years.
Yeah, so it's a book
There you
from the
go.
day. But no, you're absolutely right. I think that and it goes back to to what we were talking about at the very beginning as well, that at least we're just still trying to do stuff. And that was what
Mm-hmm.
Andy said that he liked about me
Yeah.
eventually, that I, didn't lose myself in the kids or just whatever things that you do that to lose yourself. I fought against it because he kind of was trying, not, he wasn't trying to be mean or trying. He was just saying, like, these are the important things in life right now. You have
Mm-hmm.
3 little kids. What are you doing?
Yep.
And I was like, I don't
Yep.
care. Not that I don't care, but I still want to be a
No, but that's
person.
amazing.
I still want to be a
Yeah. I
person. I
don't,
want to do things.
yeah, I never thought about that, at the time, but yeah, you're right. You're right. I mean, it's much easier for me, having no kids. I have a lot more freedom.
Well, I have plenty
I could
now.
go off and
Yeah.
skydive and, not worry if I if the parachute didn't open.
No problem. It's just Eric.
It's just me.
Just Eric and the dog. They'll miss you. Um, no, I think you're right. The feel the fear and do it anyway. That's good. Good advice. I think this was a good talk,
Thanks. Thanks,
Maggie.
Susan.
Thanks,
Thank
Maggie.
you.
Thanks, Susan. Well, I'm gonna have you back. We're gonna have to have some chats, some regular chats, because I think that it is just good to talk as honest girlfriends about these things.
Yeah, and we haven't even talked about sort of, diet and all of those things. It's just still, those are still important to me. But I think when you have the foundation, when you have that right, you start looking at what else can I tweak. But yeah, I'll get in touch if I'll let you know if I'll do a live feed from
For
Kilimanjaro base
Kilimanjaro,
camp. So
can you do a live
yeah,
feed from Kilimanjaro?
who knows? I
I don't
mean,
think that you
you
can.
know,
They don't. I don't think
I always
that's
think
set
it's
up
so.
for that.
Well, I think there's easier. I think there's easy routes. I mean, there's people that sort of go up there pushing, prams and things up there now. If you
No,
take the,
that's not true.
there
You
is an
haven't done
easy.
your
I'm just saying.
research.
I'm saying there is an easier route. I may be slightly exaggerating, but I will. I will look into
All
it.
right, let me know.
Of course, I'd have to take the very hard route, but
You're going to take the hard route. Maybe the medium route now that you've
always,
softened.
always, true, true.
All right.
All right, friend.
Thank you, Maggie. Mwah.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Thanks for listening, friend. From my heart to yours, be well until we meet again.